Sexy Gamer here, and, well, the second half of 4.4 is here with the banners of Zhao and Yae Miko, or Yae Miko, but I think people just call her Yae Miko, so, yeah. But, since Yae Miko is out, I have to do the showcase video. And besides, I haven't made a showcase video on Yae Miko yet. So, now is the time to actually do it. So, you already know the rules of the showcase, the build, Spiral Abyss, showcasing teams, fight bosses, max damage, final thoughts. Yeah, well, without any further ado, let's just get on to Yae Miko. And let's showcase my build. So, this is my Yae Miko build. So, I mean, if you already played Yae Miko before, then you probably already know what build you should run. And also, what build I ran with her. But, if you guys don't know how Yae Miko is run, since a lot of people don't actually summon for Yae Miko, which is surprising, because she's actually pretty good. But, for you guys who don't know what Yae Miko is and how she works, well, here is the gist of it. So she is a sub DPS Electro character. Yeah, so she's an Electro sub DPS. You can also make her a main. She also works as a main DPS, but her main role, her main niche, is sub DPS because of her kit. Her kit is based around sub DPS. So I built my Yae Miko as, well, sub DPS, as you see here, with crit rate, crit damage, ER. That is the main stats you should focus on. But since I did build her with damage in mind, I opted for the crit damage over the crit rate. And then since I do use burst quite often, I did opt for ER as well, so that she's able to basically use burst a lot. So yeah, that's my Yae Miko stats right there. As for her weapon, I have Kagura's Variety, which is her best catalyst. Her second best catalyst is the Witsith, a 4-star catalyst weapon that you can get pretty often. I mean, it is a 4-star weapon in the 4-star weapon pool. So you can't get this in a weapon banner or a pull. Usually it's pretty common, but as for her best weapon, of course, her own weapon, Kagura's Variety, is her best weapon, and it also has one of the highest crit damage scalings out of every catalyst. So yeah, it is a really, really good stat book as well. So if you just want pure stats, you can just give yourself the Kagura's Variety, or you can just give it to anyone else. I mean, it works as a, well, a stat book. So yeah, but it also works well for Yae Miko because since it is her, well, main weapon, she gets elemental skill damage. And that is the reason why she is a sub DPS, because of her elemental skill. But I am getting too far ahead of myself. I gotta save that for the overview. But just so you know, in general, Kagura's Variety is her best weapon. Her second best weapon is the Witsith. As for artifact set, she finally has a usable artifact set. Yeah, surprisingly. She has Golden Troop now. Yes, she actually has a artifact set that she can rely on this time. So, back then, the artifact set that you run on her is actually 2-piece attack, 2-piece electro. Yeah, that was her best set back then. But now, since we do have an actual elemental skill artifact set, you can now run Golden Troop. Pretty cool, right? So, yeah, you have 4-piece Golden Troop now with the elemental skill damage, as well as increasing the elemental skill damage further when you are off-field. And guess what? Yae Miko is an off-field sub-DPS, so it works pretty well for her. So yeah, if you want to maximize your Yae Miko potential, then just run Golden Troop. But as for the budget artifact set, you can just run her old artifact set. 2-piece attack, 2-piece electro. As for constellations, I have her at C1. There's actually a summoning video that I made that I actually got her on, like, a multi. I got 2 copies in 1 multi. So that's the reason why I got her at C1. If you don't know the context, just watch the video. I'll probably link it at the outro. But, as you see here, her C1 is actually pretty good. I mean, 8 elemental energy every time her E activates, which is pretty cool. C2 is also pretty good too, which basically increases the level by 2. And then you get the max level of 4, which is pretty nice. And also your attack range gets increased by 60%, which is pretty cool. So yeah, but Yae Miko doesn't need constellations to be good. You could literally just run her C0 and she works right out of the box. She's actually pretty good. So yeah, you don't need constellations. Just the constellations just give her a, well, better damage output as well as better consistency. But she doesn't need constellations. Again, I mean, every 5-star character doesn't need constellations to be good. So yeah. As for talents, I have her 666. So she is minimally talented. I only gotten up to the silver talents, as you see here, because they are level 6. But yeah, that is basically my Yae Miko build right there. I mean, pretty basic, right? I mean, it's just her weapon, golden troop, and then just minimal stats. So yeah. Well, anyways, now that you saw my Yae Miko build, it's time to put it in action. So, let's just get to Spiral Abyss and showcase off a couple of her teams. Alright, so here we are in floor 11 of Spiral Abyss. Well, you already know the reason why I have to choose floor 11. It's because it's a monolith floor, aka we take our time, and also there is a lot of enemies. So, it showcases her at her maximum potential. So, I can't choose either of these two because it increases damage, so the only possible buff that we could choose is the HP buff. So we're just gonna be choosing that. But, as you see here, we have the Aggravate team. And I have to say something first before we get started. Yae Miko, since I did build her as a sub DPS, I can't showcase main DPS Yae Miko teams. I am truly sorry, but since I am running Golden Troop, if she is on field, she loses the Golden Troop buffs, which sucks. So I have to keep her off team, or basically off field, for her to work her magic. So, sadly, no Yae Miko on field teams, aka Yae Miko Hyper Carry or Yae Miko main DPS. Only Yae Miko sub DPS. So yeah, truly sorry about that. But that means that we can only showcase at least a handful of teams because she is good on a lot of teams. It's just that in the sub DPS spectrum, she is mainly going to be featured in these handful of teams. So by that, I mean I can only showcase like 5 teams because, well, that is her best teams. Those 5 teams, basically. So here is one of the teams right here, which is the Quicken team, which is actually pretty good. It's basically, in my opinion, one of her best teams, or the best team, if you think about it, because, well, Quicken, Aggravate is really busted. Dendro is just a really busted element in general, so yeah, it's just pretty busted. You're gonna be hearing busted a lot in this video because Yae Miko is actually pretty good. One of the best Electro sub DPSs in the entire game, if not the best Electro sub DPS. She's just that good. But as you see there, quickly taking care of those enemies right there. Yae Miko worked her magic with her elemental skills, doing a lot of electro damage as you saw there. So yeah, so there is one of her good teams, which is the Quicken team. And since, well, Chevruss is in the game now, we can showcase her next actual viable team, which is an Overload team. Yes, that is actually one of her viable teams now, and I'll show it right now. Since Overload is now viable team comp because of Chevruss and her buffs to Overload, we now have an actual, another viable team for Yae Miko. Back then, it's literally just Electro-Charged or Hyper Bloom or Quicken, but now, I mean, look at this. It's literally now just meta. Look at this meta madness. So we're just gonna be popping all her E's, and we can just use her Q right there. Look at that damage, 20k by the way. Remember, she is minimally built. We're just gonna be using her E right there so we can get some overload damage. Yeah, but look at this damage. Absolutely ridiculous. Alright, we're gonna be using her E again. her E's are actually pretty good to space, since they do have a lot of range. But as you see there, look at that damage, so good. 9k on E, which is pretty nice. It's actually a really good damage range, because usually you see Yae Miko E at around like 10k or so. So yeah, but as you see there, I mean, it worked her magic. I mean, Yae Miko with Golden Troop, a monster, an absolute monster in support. So yeah, well, there is the Overload team. Also another one of Yae Miko's viable teams in Abyss. Definitely give it a shot. And now it's time to go to another one of her teams, which is Electro-Charged. Alright, so here is a typical Electro-Charged team. I mean, you got the meta staples. You got Kazuha, you got Kokubi. Yeah, it's literally just Electro-Charge. I mean, it's the main element. Does a ton of damage over time. It basically is a Taser team. If you don't know what a Taser team is, it is literally just Electro-Charge. Because, well, if you do an Electro-Charge reaction, it basically stuns the enemy, hence the term Taser. So yeah, it's literally just a Taser team. It's just another word for Electro-Charged. But yeah, but as you see here, I mean, look at that damage. Actually ridiculous. And then, as you saw there, I mean, makes quick work of the team, as you see there. So yeah, there is the Electro-Charged team. Now it's time to actually go on to the really wacky teams, which I really, really like. So we're going to be showcasing these last two teams, and then I'll just move on to the bosses. So let's just start off with the first team. So here is our first wacky team, which is, well, it's a physical damage dealing team. Since all we have to do is do one reaction, which is, we will showcase it right now. Superconduct, as you see there, that's all we need to do. We're basically able to do big damage, and since her range is actually pretty high, Yae Miko's, we could do a lot of damage because of Superconduct right here. As you see there, I mean, look at that. That damage. And by the way, as I said before, Eula and like everyone else is minimally built. If you don't know what that means, I mean, I literally said it before, it is just level 6 talents. So yeah. But as you see there, I mean, the damage is pretty good. Despite Eula being like okay at best on artifact terms. But let's just get the E's back so we can get a bunch of Electro-Charged reactions. We can do another E right there. Bam! 26k. Again, level 6 talents with minimally with minimal stats. Alright. We do have Xingqiu here for shatter damage as well. So we can just bam, there we go. 9k. So yeah. She actually works pretty well on a physical DPS team. As long as you build your physical damage dealers right, because mine don't do a lot of damage. So yeah. But as you see here, Yae Miko works really well with Superconduct, since she can apply it really, really well because she is a sub DPS. So yeah, that is the first wacky team out of the way, which is the physical damage dealing team. And now let's move on to the second wacky team before we move on to the free-to-play team. Here is another wacky team! Mono Electro, baby! So yeah, this actually works because, well, Raiden gets more resolve stacks when she has Electro characters on the team. So yeah, and that is because of her C1. So we're just gonna be doing a bunch of buffs here, be doing a lot of bursts, and then bam, we get max resolve stacks, 150k. Yeah, busted! Raiden is busted with a mono Electro team, who would have thought? So yeah, as you see there, look at that damage. Pretty good. So we're just gonna be doing a lot of E stacks right there. We're gonna be doing burst. Let's do a burst right here as well. And then let's get Yae Miko's burst as well, so we can get Raiden's burst immediately. Kablam! Big damage. And we're just got to be done here, and there we go. Yeah, but as you see there, as long as you're not facing an Electro Shield enemy, Mono Electro is a beast. And since no one ever chooses Mono Electro in Spiral Abyss, they just opt for like Quicken or something. It is a wacky team. So, I mean, you saw it there. You saw the numbers. If you want to try it out for yourself, try it out. And now, it's time to move on to her final team, which is a free-to-play team. So here is a quick Yae Miko free-to-play team that I whipped up. It is just basically the Quicken team, but with all 4 stars, as you see here, except for Yae Miko, because, well, obviously it's a Yae Miko free-to-play team. So, we're just going to be setting up here. We're going to be doing Kave burst so we can have some Dendro application. As you see here, Quicken Aggravate works pretty well. I mean, look at that damage. And this is a free-to-play team. So yeah, actually pretty busted. So we're going to be doing this again. Let's do Yao Yao shenanigans. And then we can just do a bunch of Quicken damage. Look at that, 14k on Quicken reaction. Pretty good. We're going to be doing burst right here. Kablam. 14k. Let's do this. And then we can just do that. And then, there we go. I mean, yeah. As you see here, as long as you properly build your characters, I mean, the damage you see here will be pretty good. Again, I usually minimally build my characters. Well, mostly all the non-meta ones. But I do build them, so at least I'm able to showcase them. So, yeah, we're gonna be doing Yao Yao again. And we're gonna be doing some more Quicken reactions. But yeah, Yao Yao's just here for the healing as well as the extra Dendro application, since she is pretty good at that. We're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be reapplying her bunnies, and then let's finish off the last enemy. There we go. So yeah, that is just a quick free-to-play team that I whipped up, but as you see there, works pretty well. So yeah. Well, anyways, now it's time to showcase her against bosses. And of course, since she is from Inazuma, we have to showcase her against Inazuma bosses. So, let's start off with Signora. Alright, so here we are in the Signora domain. So, I am going to be whipping up a team to fight Signora. And what team am I going to run? Well, actually, it is a really wacky team that I showcased before. And that is the Mono Electro team. Yeah, really weird, right? So yeah, we're just gonna be whipping up the Mono Electro team and then just showcasing how powerful it is. Because really, who runs a Mono team these days? No one! Unless you're using Kazuha with a bunch of other elements. But since this is literally just pure Mono Electro, well, it is a team that no one showcases, so, well, why not showcase it in a showcase video? So, yeah. Well, anyways, here we go. So let's just fight Signora right here.
You're trembling. Is it the cold or just cowardice?
Alright, here we go. So we're gonna be using her E's, of course, surrounding her. We're gonna be using Dory's E to, basically buff up, Raiden's, Q. We should get our max stacks. Yeah, as you see there, we already have our max stacks on her Q. So she's able to do big damage, as you see here. I mean, 20k, 11k per hit. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, we are about to die. Let's just wait for the things to spawn. Right there. Let's just use Kujo Sara to have the range projectile to hit them. Alright. Let's do a normal attack right there. Alright, we need 2 more moths. There's one right there. Alright, and then we need 1 more moth to spawn. I think it's like around the other side. Yeah, there it is. Alright. There we go. Okay, we could skip the cutscene and let's just fight Signora. We're gonna be doing a dodge here. There we go. Abuse iframes. Let's do a Q, E right there. Let's do Raiden Q. Do big damage to Signora. I think this should be half her health gone. Yeah, that's like around half her health gone. But yeah, as you see here, Mono Electro works pretty well for some odd reason. Let's just use Dory Q. We're gonna have to push our damage a bit because we are getting burned alive because of the bar. Alright. We're gonna be doing Raiden Q. There you go. As you see there, big damage. And that's it. 149k on Mono Electro. No reactions, by the way. So, yeah. Well, as you see there, Yae Miko works pretty well against bosses. I mean, you saw there. The foxes on her elemental skill deal big damage. She's able to do electro reactions pretty well. And since she does her burst, she's able to get her E stacks back, which works pretty well with a Raiden mono team because she needs all the bursts she can get. So yeah. Well, anyways, that is it for the Signora domain. I think you already know what's coming next, so let's just get to that domain. Alright, so here we are in the Raiden domain. I had to farm her burst off because, well, I need to show off her burst anyway because we're gonna be nuking down, well, the Raiden boss. I am gonna be choosing the Quicken team for this because it is Yae Miko's, or one of Yae Miko's strongest teams to run. So, usually there's always variants on the Quicken team. The one I'm gonna be running here is with Raiden, Nahida, Baiju, but you can just run I'll hate them, Nahida, or Tainari, or Kale, or Yao Yao. Basically, any Dendro character works fine as long as it does a Quicken reaction. So yeah, you can do whatever you want with the Quicken team, but this is my variation of Raiden, Nahida, Baiju. So without any further ado, let's just nuke her down. So yeah, as you already know, I mean, you already saw like mostly all of her gameplay. Yae Miko is just way too good, so I expect nothing less in this showcase against this boss. So let's just do every burst. Let's heal ourselves right here, and let's do Raiden Q, and then deal big damage. I mean, yeah, look at that. Look at that big damage. Alright, we're gonna be doing Nahida E, Nahida Q. I can do, we can just make Yae Miko take the hit there. Why not? Alright, let's just do Q, E. I think that should get Yae Miko's HP back. Yeah, so now we can just do E. E stacks, and then burst. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if Yae Miko dies. She's just there for the E. But yeah, as you see there, kablam! Even with the setback, Yae Miko still pulled her weight with the electro damage, the constant electro damage. So yeah. Well, anyways, there it is. There is Yae Miko against the two Inazuma bosses. Even though it was kind of scuffed, we still managed to basically showcase her at her full glory. So yeah. Well, anyways, now it's time to actually showcase her max damage. And let's just do that, but in the same domain, because, well, Raiden, of course, is the best domain to showcase off damage. So, yeah, well, I'll be right back with a new team setup, and we're gonna be showcasing Yae Miko's max damage output. Alright, so here we are back again with the Raiden domain, and we have a team to showcase. So, funnily enough, this is probably gonna be her max damage output. I know I could just run Farina Bennett, but I have to showcase Chevreuse at like some point anyway, and we need more Chevreuse love. So here it is. Here is her max damage output, my way, basically the overload way. So of course Chevreuse, since Chevreuse is the main focus, we have to change our team into an overload team. It can't be any other team. So of course we have to stick with Electro and Pyro. So we have Raiden here, who is basically just gonna be the main DPS, since my Yae Miko is just a sub. As you see here, 10-10-10 with Emblem, C2, Engulfing Lightning, and that's basically it. I mean, yeah, I already did a showcase video on Raiden, so if you want to know the full details on her things, then you can just watch the showcase video there, which I will also link. So yeah. We also have Yae Miko here, who is gonna be the sub DPS. I already showcased my build, so we can just go on to the next character. We have Chevros, who is here for the support. She has Black Tassel with the Songs of Days Past artifact set. We have her at C4. Too bad we don't have her at C6, which basically increases the pyro and electro damage by 20%. But she also has talents to at least increase overload reactions and also increase well, healing as well. So basically we can't die. And not only that, we can't die even further because of Bennett, but we also have him here because of, well, high attack weapon with no bleeds, of course, C1, and then we have a level 16 max talent right here for Fantastic Voyage. So yeah, well, anyways, now it's time to showcase the team, and we're gonna be showcasing Yae Miko's max damage output on the Kagura's thing, which is just her foxes that she summons. So let's just do her E's right here. Kablam! Let's do Chevros thing, and then let's do her E. 11k! That is her best damage on sub DPS. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Pretty good damage. Alright. This is another chance to stun her, actually. Okay, so this is the real Raiden. Alright, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do this. 34k on burst. So at least we saw the damage on her burst, which is pretty high. Alright, let's finish this off with Raiden. And then do big damage. And hopefully she doesn't go to her next phase. Which I think she will, though. Yeah, yikes. I was too late. Alright, let's do Chevros. And then at least do some overload damage. There we go. Alright. Yae Miko E. Singing at least some damage on that. Oh, I mistimed the dodge there. That is my bad. Yeah, I guess we could just stall until she's going to do her pillar phase. Alright. We'll just do a normal attack there. Get the shield up. Alright. Alright, she's about to reach her final phase soon. Hopefully. We're just gonna be doing as much reactions as we can with Bennett. Alright, let's go behind so we don't get hit there. Alright, there we go. I think I mistimed the dodge there. Alright, she's almost done. So hopefully this will be it right here. There we go. Alright, now we can just finish her off with no worries. Kablam! There we go. So yeah, there is the max damage output for Yae Miko. As you saw there, she was able to do 11k on E, and then on burst she's able to do around 37k. Pretty standard numbers, to say the least, on a overload team. So yeah. It probably could be higher with Bennett, Farina, but it requires a ton, and I mean a ton of setup to do. So yeah. But anyways, there we go. There is Yae Miko's max damage output. Now it's time to showcase her overview, and then give my final thoughts on the character. So let's just get to her talents, and let's close off the video. So here is Yae Miko, Lady Guuji of the Grand Narukami Shrine, aka the Fox, aka the Yokai Fox. So yeah. Well, anyways, we're just gonna be going over her talents, and then her constellations, and then give my final thoughts on the character. So without any further ado, let's just get on with it. So here are her talents. We have normal attack, Spirit, Fox, Sin, Eater, which just does 3 normal attacks, and then her charge attack does AoE damage, and then her plunge is just a normal plunge. This is a talent that you do not want to level up anyway, because guess what? her whole kit is on sub DPS, so there's no reason to level up a normal attack unless you are running main DPS Yae Miko. Then other words, level this up first if you're running main DPS Yae Miko. But since her whole kit is based around sub DPS terms, you do not want to level this up. Just level this up last. If you are dedicated to Yae Miko. If you want to basically triple crown her, just level this up last. Next up, we have her Yakan Evocation, Sessho Sakura. So this basically just summons up Sessho Sakuras, which just deal electro damage at a set period of time. She's able to have up to 3 Sessho Sakuras at once, and those do electro damage. So yeah, it's basically pretty simple. All of them last up to 14 seconds, and the cooldown of each is 4 seconds, which is pretty nice. It's actually really, really good. And also, it increases in level as well. So yeah, it is pretty good elemental skill. It is her bread and butter. So, of course, since she is a sub DPS, you want to level this up first. And then, well, level this up second. And then level this up last. That is mainly the talent level up order that you want to do. So yeah. Her Elemental Burst. Great Secret Art Tenko Kenshin, which does AoE electro damage. And if you use her Q, she's able to convert all of her Sessho Sakuras into burst damage. And once that happens, it resets the cooldown of each Sessho Sakura, which is pretty good. And also, for each Sessho Sakura destroyed, it creates 1 Electro Bolt, dealing AoE electro damage. So mainly, you want all 3 of these to be active before you do her burst. And then once you do her burst, you're able to do it again because of her talents. But yeah, as you see here, look at that damage. Pretty good. The only bad side is that it costs 90 energy, but it doesn't really matter anyway because you're going to be using her for her E anyway. Her burst is just a cherry on top, basically. And here is her first passive talent, which is the Shrine Sacred Shade, which basically, when you do her burst, it resets the cooldown for 1 of the Sessho Sakuras, aka all of them, if you do have all of them up. So basically, for each Sessho Sakura destroyed by her Q, which I did mention before, which resets her E. So basically, you want all 3 E's up at the same time, and then you use her Q, and then once that happens, you can use her E again, which is pretty nice. It means she is able to constantly deal out electro damage pressure on the opponent, which basically means big damage. That's literally all it means. It means you can do triple E, big damage, and then reset them again. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Her second passive talent is Enlightened Blessing, which basically every single elemental mastery point that Yae Miko possesses will increase Sessho Sakura's damage by 0.15%. So if you are gonna be hyper focused on a Hyper Bloom or Quicken build on Yae Miko, then this is definitely a passive talent that is extremely good because, well, EM rules on Dendro teams. So the more EM you have on Yae Miko, the stronger her Sessho Sakuras get. And the stronger her Sessho Sakuras get, the more damage it's able to do. So yeah, really, this is just the Dendro damage passive talent, basically. So yeah, you could build her one of 2 ways. You could build her with a lot of support in mind, where she's able to support a lot of teams with crit rate, crit damage, ER. Or you can build her for Quicken teams, which basically is crit rate, crit damage, ER, and EM. You gotta balance everything, basically. So yeah. And then lastly, we have her overworld passive talent, which is Meditations of the Yako, which has a 25% chance to get 1 regional character talent material when crafting, which is pretty good. It means that, well, you can get your talent materials back, which is really nice. So yeah, actually pretty good. So you can basically get a lot of talent materials back this way to make more talent materials, which is pretty nice. It's a really good talent to have. And next up, we have constellations, and some of our constellations are actually pretty good. yeah, it's actually kind of worth investing, not gonna lie, if you are gonna be going for constellations on Yae Miko. So, let's just go over them. So we have Yakon Offering, which is her Constellation 1. So every time she uses Tenko Kenshin, which is basically the Q, right there, Tenko Kenshin, she's able to get 8 elemental energy for herself for each Thunderbolt activated. So, do triple E, Q. You get 8 energy back per Sessho Sakura destroyed. Pretty good. This means you can get a ton of energy back, and remember her energy cost being 90? Yeah, that's not going to be an issue anymore if you have this constellation. So yeah, that means that you're able to get her Q back even faster than before, which is really, really good. So yeah, this constellation is actually pretty cracked. Her second constellation is Fox's Moon Call. Sessho Sakura will start at level 2 instead of level 1, and you basically get an increase of level by 4. And also, you get increased attack range on E by 60%. This means that it's able to hit in a wider AoE radius. You also start at level 2, meaning that you don't start at level 1. And your max level is increased by 4. It's broken. Busted. Absolutely busted. So yeah, this is the main constellation that people would want to go for if you are going to be using Yae Miko a lot, because you get increased attack range, and you also start at level 2 and also get a max of level 4 instead of level 3. So yeah, it is really, really, really good if you want a lot of damage on Yae Miko. It is one of her best talents, period. Her Constellation 3 is the 7 Glamours, which basically increases the level of Sessho Sakura, aka her E, by 3 levels. So yeah, pretty good. As for Constellation 4, we have Sakura Channeling, which basically increases electro damage bonus for 20% for 5 seconds. It's dumb. It's really dumb. And it's every time her Sessho Sakuras hit an opponent, which is very often. So, this buffs Raiden. This mainly buffs Raiden. You thought Raiden was broken on Mono Electro? This just further cements it. Yeah, you get electro damage bonus by 20%. 20% is a lot, by the way. And she also, well, Raiden gets electro damage bonus for each ER she has. Each point of ER. So, this just increases it even further, meaning that her burst just does way more damage. Busted. Her Constellation 5 is Mischievous Teasing, which increases her burst by 3 levels, which is pretty neat. And then C6 is just Raiden C2. I'm not joking. So, her C6, Forbidden Art Daisesho, when her Sessho Sakuras attack an opponent, they ignore 60% of the opponent's defense. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah, it's literally written by Raiden's C2. Raiden C2 ignores 60% of the opponent's defense. Yeah, Yae Miko C6 ignores 60% of the opponent's defense. Yeah, pretty good. Even though all of her constellations look basic, I mean, look at this. They're not really long paragraphs, as you see there. Only like 4 sentences long or something like that. It's still pretty busted. I mean, you get ER. You get increased attack range. You get electro damage bonus. And you get 60% ignored defense on E, meaning that her sub DPS potential just raises through the roof. Yeah. Yae Miko's constellations are really good. They are nothing to sleep at. Even though it doesn't say much, it is actually pretty good. So, what are my final thoughts on Yae Miko? She is one of the best Electro sub DPSs in the game, if not the best Electro sub DPS. Because, well, there's no other like her, besides maybe Fischl, but she is a 4-star, and Yae Miko is a 5-star. So, they really do contend to each other as being one of the best Electro sub DPSs in the game. It's either Raiden, Yae Miko, or Fischl as your sub DPS of choice when it comes to Electro. So yeah, it's mainly those 3 that fight between the best Electro sub DPS in the game, but everyone has their own argument because, well, Raiden can work on everyone, Yae Miko has the damage output, and Fischl is a free-to-play. So yeah, there is mainly a lot of arguments for each side, but in the end of the day, all of them are really good, and Yae Miko is no exception. So, as the title of the video says, Yae Miko is an amazing Electro sub DPS, and do not sleep on her. As you saw in the showcase video, she is actually pretty good. So, it's up to you to decide whether you want to summon for Yae Miko or not. I am not stopping you if you are or if you're not. I'm just here to relay the information on you. Yae Miko is a good sub DPS. So, keep that in mind if you are going to be thinking about summoning for Yae Miko. So yeah. Well, anyways, that is it for the Yae Miko showcase video. So, if you guys enjoyed this showcase video, and if you want to see more, be sure to leave a like on this video down below. And also, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on a single upload. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. Leaving a like and subscribing just really motivates me to make more Genshin videos, and I really do love Genshin and making content about it. So, if you do support it by liking and subscribing, you are supporting my passion. So thank you guys so much for the continued support. And also comment out below, what do you think of Yae Miko? You think she's pretty good? You think she's pretty bad? What do you think is the best Electro sub DPS? You think it's Raiden? You think it's Yae Miko? You think it's Fischl? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching this Genshin Showcase video, and I'll see you guys in the next Genshin video.